Honduras established diplomatic ties with China on Sunday, right after breaking off so-called diplomatic relations with the Taiwan authorities. According to the joint communique between the two countries, the government of the Republic of Honduras recognizes that there is only one China in the world. The government of the People's Republic of China is the sole legal government representing the whole China, and Taiwan is an inalienable part of China's territory. So what is the significance of this development, and what implications will this have on China-US ties? I'm pleased to be joined from Beijing by Einar Tangen, Senior Fellow of Taihe Institute, a think tank, and from Beijing by Liu Baocheng, Dean of the Center for International Business Ethics at the University of International Business and Economics. Gentlemen, welcome to The Point. Einar, let me go to you first. Now, the decision by Honduras reduces the number of countries that diplomatically recognize Taiwan to only 13. And Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gang said today that that marks a brand new start for China-Honduras ties. So what has prompted the Honduran authorities to make this important shift?
Well, contrary to what you hear a lot in the popular press, what it was an internal decision by Honduras. There was a couple of factors. One, there was a sense by the opposition who came into power that Taiwan had been supporting the previous administration. Basically, getting involved in the internal affairs of other countries does not work, and Taiwan is learning this firsthand. But more importantly, it is just about economics. These are very tough times. Honduras has seen 5 other countries who have left, broken off relations with Taiwan and fully joined the Chinese camp, and they have been doing well. They've joined Belt and Road Initiative. They've had tremendous amounts of increases in their trade, and they're also looking forward towards more investment and being part of the Belt and Road Initiative. There's this feeling that smaller countries need to be part of larger trade groups in order to survive.
Now, 182 countries in the world have diplomatic ties with the People's Republic of China, and they're officially recognizing the one China principle. That is the absolute majority of countries in the world. The Honduran president also indicated that her decision is, on a tweet on social media, that her decision is in concert with the nations of the world. Professor Liu, what does it mean for Taiwan independence forces or those who are advocating separatism?
Well, actually, ever since 1971, when the People's Republic of China was able to kick the Taiwan regime out of the United Nations, the space for diplomacy with this island has been dwindling all along. And now I think Honduras has made the right decision to join a bigger family. And by linking with China, it means that they are also linking with a globalization process. And particularly when Anna mentioned the Belt and Road program has benefited those 5 Latin American and Caribbean countries so much so people have their own eyes to see that what are really the true benefits. The so-called democracy and those lofty slogans do not really feed people's stomach. And Honduras is really now moving forward with their vision and also with their ambition to build their infrastructure, to improve people's livelihood, and also by narrowing the inequality of income distribution and stabilize their economy. And particularly now when they are concentrated more in the agricultural part, and China is definitely a biggest buyer along that. So this is really the wise choice, and Taiwan regime is really receiving another slap in that regard, and particularly now when the world are really trying to encircle China,
the Western
with the Taiwan
world
issue,
led by the United States.
Very much a breakthrough.
Yeah. Well, in the United States, however, although they stress that they still adopts the one China policy, which is not exactly as the one China principle, and they do not recognize Taiwan officially, but you keep hearing about talk of Taiwan on the popular media or mainstream media in the West as if Taiwan is some kind of independent country that has some kind of a quasi-official status. Do people from these media, Einar, do they know something that we don't? Why does the U.S. De facto go against international consensus?
Well, it's actually two different questions. I mean, for a lot of journalists, they have a kind of knee-jerk reaction because their role in a democracy is the fourth estate. They're essential. They reject the role of the media in a one-party state where it's about information, making sure people know exactly what's going on. So you have that on that side. In terms of the Washington, it's purely, we lived in a post-fact, post-hypocritical world. There was 3 communiques that were signed between China and the U.S. They could not be more clear on what the state of the relationships were, that there was only one China. They removed Taiwan from the UN. I don't know how much more you could do to declare that there's only one China. But now, due to this sense in the U.S. that it's losing ground to China, they have basically reinvented a new kind of interpretation of these 3 communiques and just say, well, we never said this, we never said that, when clearly they did.
Well, it is for certain that China will continue to establish diplomatic relations with the remaining countries in the world that haven't done so. As I mentioned of Taiwan, for Taiwan authorities, there are still 13 so-called diplomatic allies, and 7 of them are located in the Americas. So, Professor Liu, do you foresee the trend of reorientation continue in these countries in the year to come? Could Taiwan separatist forces do anything to try to disrupt that process?
I don't think so, because the world trend is very clear that they are looking for pragmatic benefit, and particularly now when the irony is there. So the United States and many other countries promote democracy. Actually, when we look at democracy around the global landscape, it is really the voluntary choice and free choice of their people, of their government, to join the diplomatic ties with the People's Republic of China. So that's really a part of the democracy. And also that
but
it is really
also, now that you mentioned that, Professor Liu, sorry for interrupting, what will the United States do to prevent this process, to prevent, China from winning over more countries diplomatically?
Well, I do not think they have any legitimate reason to prevent that, because it's not only there to sever China's interests, but also to sever their proposed democracy around the world, in terms of freedom and equality in their choices, whether to ally with with any other countries. So what they wanted really to contain China and using the Taiwan Island as a sort of a springboard, and to create more of the stories to boost the antagonism against China among their allies. And now, actually, many of their allies already see that this is not the way to go. And now the economy of every country is really in a vulnerable situation, and China is there to contribute a lion's share to the global growth and recovery. And now many of those smaller countries, they begin to look outside of the world, and they settle their some of the political disputes and also internal upheavals. And now when people are looking at their houses, are looking at their land, and also looking at their future, and to team up with the mainland China, is the way to go because we are able to offer the
How
not only infrastructure but
Yeah.
also the largest market to
On,
work
on
with them.
China's
And now
part,
that
on China's part, Professor Liu, sorry for interrupting, and please keep it short. Time is really limited. On China's part, what does this mean? What does this move mean for China's determined effort to achieve reunification and use peaceful means to the maximum extent possible?
yes, this is a very important question because the primary choice for China for its unification is through a peaceful means and by more recognition of the One China policy, and also the People's Republic is the only legitimate government over the entire China, is something that is there to win the popular support around the world, and also that is also there to give a warning to those separatist forces, either within the island or outside the island, that there is only one alternative. That is the unification, and that is there to serve the entire people, the entire China, and also serve the future generations of all the Chinese people.
All right. Well, finally, Einar, the U.S. Congress voted last week with an overwhelming majority, 404 votes for versus 7 votes against, to pass a bill called Taiwan Assurance Implementation Act. It requests the Department of State to regularly review the guidelines for exchanges with Taiwan, and also ask the U.S. Secretary of State to identify opportunities to lift any remaining self-imposed limitations on U.S.-Taiwan engagement and articulate a plan to do so. What does that mean, first of all, and how will the Honduras move impact U.S. policy concerning Taiwan?
Well, I don't think most legislators know where Honduras is, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. Basically, South America has been ignored, which is one of the contributing factors here. But in terms of U.S. policy, it will continue to be very negative towards China, and that means playing up the Taiwan card. It's not even clear that the U.S. is that interested in Taiwan, except this quote narrative about values. As Taiwan loses countries, I mean, Taiwan started out with 22 countries that were still allied with Taiwan, now down to 13. That's going to have an effect both in terms of the politics that are coming up and also her coming trip. This will be, seen in Washington as, China's taking advantage of us in our backyard. But will they do something about it? I doubt it.
Will the U.S. feel greater pressure to defend Taiwan, go further on this road, to embolden the separatists?
That is the direction it's going. But right now, you're starting to see a groundswell of people who are just tired of this everything is China's fault, when clearly, the banking issue, the issue about the 31.5 trillion in debt and a debt ceiling that is not happening while they spend 5.5 hours talking about cat videos and children. This is not playing well, and America changes when the electorate gets tired of the kind of shenanigans in Washington. And right now, Washington is not taking care of business, so it's quite possible you're going to see a change.
But still, the voting result says a lot. Anyway, we have to leave it there. Many thanks to Einar Tangen and Professor Liu Baocheng for joining us.